Amidst a beautiful blue lake, a handsome knight in shining armor could be seen overlooking the lake. Behind him is a beautiful girl in a cute outfit who calls him to the middle of the lake to propose to him. The knight is shocked by the sudden proposal from the beautiful girl, but he still rejects it by saying that he promised himself to never fall in love again. The beautiful girl is heartbroken by his rejection, but her love for him transcends all boundaries, so she begs him to marry her. The knight is shocked by her persistence and has no choice but to accept her proposal. This knight is none other than our protagonist Heike, aka Russian, which is his online tag, and the cute girl's tag is Akko. Akko is a clingy type who is always stuck to Heike. Even when they are clearing dungeons in the game, she always focuses on him rather than doing her work as a healer in the game. One day, they are on their dungeon hunting duties as usual when Heike gets swarmed by a lot of orcs. Heike calls for Schwain's help, who is also the sword master of their guild. However, Schwain is useless as always and ends up attracting even more orcs towards Heike. Poor Heike begs Akko to heal him while she is busy singing praises about her husband. Akko is brought out of her delusions and looks at her husband being thrashed by the groups of orcs and becomes scared. She immediately channels her magic and casts a spell on him. Heike finally heals back to health and starts destroying the groups of orcs. However, his actions cause the orcs to get even angrier as they start to swarm at him in even greater numbers. This time even Akko isn't able to save him, but fortunately, the guildmaster, Apricot, arrives on the scene and blasts all the orcs into smothering using her ultimate fire blast. Although the blast kills all the orcs, it also ends up blowing Heike as always. Akko finally comes back to her senses and immediately revives him. After reviving, Heike leaves the game after saying his goodbyes to everyone, especially his in-game wife Akko. The following morning, Heike is in his class when his friends swarm and notice him that he is in a happy mood. They ask him as to what happened, to which Heike answers that he finally got a wife. The group laughs at him as usual, as it is nothing new for Heike to change his anime waifu every other season. However, Heike tells them that it's an in-game wife, which makes the group ridicule him even more because most of the girls in the game are just catfishers. Closing the topic, one of the boys asks Heike about anime recommendations when suddenly two girls enter the classroom and look at them as they fanatically talk about anime and manga. One of the girls, Akane, calls Heike a gross otaku and walks away. Heike gets shocked and stands up to explain that there are various types of otakus and that he isn't a bad one. However, Akane answers his answer by saying that she knows that he is the worst of them. Poor Heike has nothing to say against it, so he just shuts up and sits on his desk as if nothing happened. After a while, the homeroom teacher asks everyone to head to the assembly hall for the morning routine. While Heike is on his way to the assembly hall, he stumbles into a weird girl who runs away without even saying anything. After school, Heike heads to his home as usual and immediately turns on his little war machine to play his favorite online game, which is called Legendary Era, or in short, LAN. Yesterday, he left the guild, so he logged in there as usual. There he waits for his guild's members. After a while, everyone logs in as well, so they start their dungeon hunting. Just like yesterday, dungeon hunting goes extremely terrible. In the end, their teamwork is even more terrible than yesterday as they all end up dying at the dungeon. Soon, they all respawn at the guild and sit there in silence. Heike is angry at all the members, especially Akko, who was extremely dumb today and even healed the monsters rather than healing her teammate. However, Akko tries to use her cuteness to calm him down. Schwain and Apricot also calm him down and tell him that it's just a single dungeon loss and that nothing major happened. Heike doesn't have anything else against Schwain, but he calls out Apricot as this rich guy has no problem with losing a few levels as he can just use premium items to gain it back. While they are talking to each other, Schwain brings up the topic of being confessed yesterday. This brings him hatred from all sides, as for them romance is for normies and the nerds do not need it. Especially Akko, who detests normies and only loves her in-game husband Heike. However, Heike already had his heart broken by a catfisher in the game, so he doesn't want to trust anyone again. He doesn't even trust Akko yet and is just role-playing. On the topic of real-life stuff, the guildmaster proposes the group to meet up for a real-life event. Soon the location and the day are decided as everyone agrees to meet up. A few days later, Heike arrives at the location and he leaves a text in the group that he is standing beneath a tree. Just then, he hears someone call him from behind and turns only to find a cute-looking girl staring at him. She asks him if she's Russian, to which Heike answers yes, and the girl immediately hugs his arm and starts calling him husband. Just then Schwain and Apricot arrive as well, and they turn out to be girls as well. Schwain is none other than Akane, who called Heike a nerd, which comes as a shock to both of them. Apricot is also none other than the school council president, Kiowa. And the last remaining Akko is also called Akko in real life. The group heads to the cafe, where they all introduce themselves formally. After the introduction, they start talking about their lives as Akko keeps on hugging Heike and smelling him as she can't believe that he is here in front of her in flesh and alive. The group continues with their meetup as they talk about various things. After introducing their hobbies and what they do in real life, they come back to the game as they take turns roasting each other for being the trashiest players. After talking for hours, they realize that it's been too long, so they decide to head back. Outside the cafe, Heike apologizes to everyone for mistaking them to be big brute men, which causes everyone to laugh. Kyle laughs and tells Heike that she told him about her identity, but he didn't believe her. Heike replies that he couldn't be sure, especially after the catfishing incident. Just when they are about to leave, Akane stops Heike and warns him that he better not act chummy with her at school and keep her online persona hidden. Heike promises that he won't and steps back. Immediately, Akko grabs his arm as she stares angrily at Akane as if she's a monster, which makes Akane smile awkwardly as she assures her that she won't steal her husband. After wishing everyone farewell, Heike and Akko head home together as they live nearby. On their way back, Akko asks Heike why he didn't trust her even though she told him that she was a girl. Heike answers that he just couldn't believe anyone after that cat girl broke his heart and decided to take everyone to be a guy. Akko then asks him why he agreed to marry her if he didn't consider her to be a girl. Heike tells her that it didn't matter for him in the game, so he decided to play along. Akko immediately steps back as she looks at him and says, "Why are you gay?" This makes poor Heike defend himself and say that it's not what it looks like, which makes Akko laugh, who was just messing with him. She hugs Heike and assures him that it also doesn't matter to her as long as he is her Russian. After talking for a while, she heads towards her own house as Heike continues on his way back home. After heading home, Heike logs into the game as the group continues with their gaming sessions as usual. However, in Heike's mind, their character models transform into their real-life selves as they all start to incorporate their real-life personalities into the game as well. After the dungeon hunting, the group is at the guild where they laugh and talk as usual. However, before leaving, Akane once again informs everyone to act as usual at school and not reveal each other's online personality. She especially looks at Heike, who keeps assuring her that he won't. One by one, they all log off till only Akane and Heike are left. Akane once again warns him and leaves before Heike logs off as well. The following day at school, Heike is chilling with his friends in class as usual when he is approached by Akane, who greets him in a rather awkward way. She immediately realizes that it's not how she acts in real life and immediately curses Heike before heading towards her seat. While Heike is contemplating what he did, he notices Akko standing at the door and immediately turns his face away. However, Akko keeps calling him Russian while looking towards him, which makes his friends ask him who this Russian is. Heike tries to play dumb, but it's useless as Akko walks towards him and grabs him. She keeps on calling him Russian and shaking him, which makes Akane, who is standing in front, feel goosebumps, so she quickly stands up and asks both of them to leave and do their otaku stuff outside. However, she didn't expect Akko to drag her in as well, as she started calling her by her in-game nickname. Akane is cringed by it and quickly grabs her arm and runs away. Heike chases after them as they all head to the stairs, where Heike and Akane lecture Akko that the reality and the game are different, which makes her start crying as she thinks that they hate her and don't want to associate with her. After taking their time to explain, Heike finally manages to convince her and Akko stops crying. She decides to call Akane by her real name. However, she keeps calling him Russian even though he asked her to use his real name. During lunchtime, Akko once again comes to Heike and tells him that she made lunch for him. Heike tells her to not do this as he isn't her husband in real life. This makes Akko depressed once again, so the group has no choice but to head to Kyo, who is just the person to solve their problem. There, Kyo informs them that she will help Akko in realizing the difference between reality and game as she brings them to a club room. The club's name is Online Net Game Club, and inside there are a lot of computers with RTX 4090 as well as the latest Asus monitors with 480 Hz of refresh rate. She tells them that they will play games here during their free time and try to help Akko understand real life and the gaming world. Later, Heike once again meets that cat girl in the game who turns out to be a dude. If this was pre-meetup Heike, he would have been embarrassed to meet him, but after the meetup, he realized that in game and reality are very different things. The cat girl dude is surprised to see Heike's maturity and leaves after saying that they will meet up again if fate plays a part. The following morning, Heike is in his classroom as usual, but this time, he is accompanied by Akko, who keeps clinging to him, calling him husband. Heike asks her to stop calling him husband as it sounds too old-fashioned. Akko thinks for a while before calling him honey, which makes Heike even more cringe as he tells her that she is not at that level of calling him honey yet. While they are being lovey-dovey, the homeroom teacher, Yui, enters the room and greets everyone. Noticing that the teacher is here, Akko leaves the class as Yui asks Heike to come with her. Outside the class, Yui asks Heike if he is dating Akko, to which he replies that it's not like that and that they are just good friends. Yui is thankful to him for being friends with Akko as she doesn't have any friends and solemnly appears in the school. While they are talking, Kyowu happens to walk past them as she greets Yui. Heike also greets her as she asks Yui if she thought about what she said to her. Yui answers that she has been busy, to which Kyowu asks her to at least give the name. Later, in the club room, Heike and the others turn on their PCs as they log into the game. Akko, who is used to talking in the chat, is having trouble talking aloud. While Heike is telling her to talk with them just normally, he realizes that he needs to check on Akko's gear. He looks through her gear and finds that all of her equipment is garbage and is only good for looking good. Akane chips in as well as she helps Akko in selecting the perfect equipment for the upcoming dungeon. However, Akko isn't willing to change her cute outfits, but despite her resistance, she is forced to change them anyway. Kyowu starts laughing as she notices them bullying Akko, which makes Heike and Akane warn her to not use her premium items as well. After setting everything up, they head inside to the dungeon that is filled with lava monsters. While Heike tanks the monsters, Akane slays them using her big sword. Kyowu, who is just watching them from behind, wants to fight as well, so she charges up her attack to kill the monsters, but without premium items, she is even more useless than the previous Akko. After being beaten up, she begs Akko to revive her, but Akko isn't used to new controls, so Heike has no choice but to step in and help her. After a whole lot of work, they are finally able to clear up the dungeon. Even though there were a lot of problems, it would be a lie to say that they didn't enjoy playing together. After a while, they all head back home, and Akko and Heike walk back together as usual. On their way, Akko tells Heike that she has been coming to school daily, which might make her exhaust all of her steam. However, Heike warns her to not miss school, otherwise she won't graduate. But Akko tells him that he will take care of her in the future, so she doesn't need to graduate. But Heike tells her that he prefers double income, although the later part of his sentence is almost inaudible. Akko teases him for accepting her so easily, which makes Heike blush, so he decides to make a stop to grab some smoothie before heading home. Outside the convenience store, Heike and Akko are drinking their smoothie as she asks Heike if they look like a married couple together. Heike replies that they don't look married, and heck, they aren't even at the age of marrying. Although he tells her that they do look like boyfriend and girlfriend, he isn't able to complete the sentence. The following day, Heike and the others are at the club as usual and start their daily gaming session. After they are done playing the game, Akane asks for everyone's attention and informs them that their goal for this club is to help Akko understand the difference between reality and the game, but instead, they are making it even more difficult for her. However, Akko doesn't see any problem with this as long as they are enjoying themselves. However, Kyowu informs everyone that Akane is right and that they don't have enough time, as the club will be closing soon as they don't have a club advisor. Heike realizes that he needs to increase the pace, so he decides to ask an expert about it. Later, he logs into the game and searches for the catgirl guy whose nickname is Nekoheim. He asks Nekoheim about Akko's problem and he answers that it's simple. He gives him the solution and leaves. The following day, Heike confronts Akko about it as he informs her that they are just normal people at school. However, Akko realizes what he is trying to do and asks him if he heard it from a woman. Heike is shocked and tries to make her understand, but Akko tells him that a wife can recognize when her husband is being unlawful to her. Later, Heike logs into the game, seeks out Nekoheim once again, and tells him about what happened. After receiving some answers to his questions, Heike leaves when suddenly he is discovered by Akko, who was following him this whole time. While Heike is trying to defend himself, he ends up arguing with Akko, which leads to Akko leaving as she tells him that reality and games are different. Heike informs about the incident to the other group members, who ask him to go chase after her. They even organize a meeting with Akko all alone. Heike chases after Akko and arrives in front of the school gate, where he tells Akko that he is still her husband in the game, so he doesn't like her meeting another man outside the game. This is heard by Yui, who is there, and she learns that Russian is Heike in real life. Heike is shocked to find Yui here, so Akko tells him that she is Nekoheim, which turns the worldview of Heike upside down. Yui apologizes to Heike for playing with his feelings, but since she wants to keep her identity hidden, she decides to act as crossplay. The whole scene ends with Yui joining the club as an advisor to save her own secret identity as well. This way, the group can continue to exist and they can continue to play games as well. One day, Heike and Akko are killing time in the school as he tells her that when he first started the game, he wanted to join a guild. However, when he went in to join it, the guild leader wanted to test him first. But Heike failed the test and ended up getting rejected because the conditions were that he needed to be lifeless. In other words, he needed to quit school so he could focus 24/7 on the game. Akko is surprised to hear his experience, but she is envious of people who can quit school and work to play games all day. Hearing this, Heike gets worried that she might quit school one day, so he is about to lecture her when Akko tells Heike that she forgot her wallet at school. Heike realizes that he needs to act as her husband, so he buys her the juice. Later, all the members are at the club ready to play some games when Yui reminds them of their original intention of making Akko realize the differences between game and reality. However, she gets a bombastic side eye from Kyowu, so she shuts her mouth and leaves. After Yui leaves, they get ready to beat up some mobs to level up quickly. However, Kyowu tells them that in the new update, La added a new feature called Gacha, so she wants to try it. She also encourages the group to try it as well and even offers to give them money for it. The group accepts the free money, as who doesn't like Gacha. However, in the end, they end up losing all the money without getting anything rare. After school, Akko is sulking about losing all the rolls, so Heike decides to buy her an ice cream so she can cheer up. This makes Akko very happy, as she happily calls him husband. The following day, Heike is in class when his friends ask him about his girlfriend, or rather wife, as she hasn't come to class lately. Heike is trying to defend himself when Akane passes by, so Heike greets her but only receives a threatening glare. Akane's best friend, Nanako, comes up to Heike and apologizes to him about Akane's rude behavior. However, after Nanako leaves, Heike notices Akko glaring at him through the door and gets goosebumps. Later, the group is about to start their gaming session at the club when Akko walks in with a dreadful aura. She runs up to Heike and asks him to cast a heal spell on her, as she explains how a duo of girls kept pestering her about Heike. She tells them that although she wants to announce to the world that Heike is her husband, she dislikes socializing with normies. After consoling her, they are about to game when Nanako opens the door and enters inside. Akane is shocked and immediately tries to defend herself, but the other group members expose her identity. Akane feels as if the world is ending, as her normal high school life is about to end. The following day, Heike and Akko are at the guild room, but no one is there. They decide to hang out alone, as without a team they can't do anything. They visit all the beautiful locations and even head under the ocean to visit the Sea God's Temple. After sightseeing all the new and famous towns, they are walking through the forest when Akko remembers the time when she first met Heike. Heike saved her from the monsters and taught her how to log off. After that, Akko kept following him till eventually he gave up and decided to accept her. While chit-chatting, they are making their way through the forest when Heike notices a player fighting against the monsters. He notices that she is quite weak, so he helps her defeat the monsters. After talking with the girl, he realizes that she is a complete beginner who doesn't even know about the controls. So Heike decides to teach her, which upsets Akko, who thinks that her husband is being taken away. The following day, Akane finally recovered and told them that Nanako decided to keep everything a secret. So with that worry out of the place, she can finally play in peace. They all log into the game and are about to head to the dungeon when the girl from the last time comes up to Heike and hugs his arm. This makes Akko very jealous, as she stares at them with a grievance in her eyes. The following day, the group is at the club ready to play La, but Kyowu asks them if they want to play anything aside from Heike, and others have no problem, as the group name is Online Net Game Club, not just like Club. Kyowu is happy to see their enthusiasm and decide to play an FPS game. While Heike and Akane have played FPS games before, Akko on the other hand has never played it, so she feels a bit hesitant. However, Kyowu encourages her, as she tells her to just imagine the enemies to be normies. This awakens the killer inside Akko, as she immediately joins the game. While playing the game, Heike discovers that Akko is surprisingly good at playing sniper, as she keeps on hunting the targets. Even at home, they all continue to play it, which leaves them tired during the morning. After waking up, Heike heads to school with heavy dark circles under his eyes, as he regrets playing the game all night. He also notices Akko at the door, so he heads towards her and finds her acting suspicious. Akko tells Heike that there might be enemies nearby, which makes him understand that she is still under the influence of the game. While he is trying to make her understand that normies are not enemies, Nanako enters the class with Akane and runs towards Heike, as she asks him about him not being present at the location yesterday. Heike is confused, but he soon realizes that Nanako is that newbie girl from the game. Nanako tells Heike that she enjoyed playing with him and it was fun playing with Akane and others too. Akane, who has also realized that the newbie girl is her best friend, feels as if her soul was stolen by some devil. Nanako then looks at Akko, who is hiding behind Heike's back, so she asks if she is Akko, who calls him her husband in the game. She then proceeds to grab Heike's arm and hug it, which makes Akko very angry, so she starts crying and leaves. Nanako realizes that she might have overdone it, so she immediately apologizes, but the group realizes that they need to consult Kyowu and Yui. Yui informs them that Akko is headed home after making an excuse. However, she worries that she might not come to school. However, in some way, she thinks that this is good as well and that Akko might grow from this experience. However, the following day, Akko doesn't come to school, so Heike and others realize that they need to do something. Heike decides to log into the game and asks her about it. However, in the game, Akko tells Heike that she will max this character and then reincarnate so that she will finally have a new life where she wouldn't have met him. Heike tries to talk his way through, but Akko is stubborn and leaves the game. She also tells him that she won't be coming to school anymore and that La is her new life. Heike is angry at himself, but Kyowu and the others tell him that he is her husband, so he needs to do something about it. After consoling him, they all leave as Heike heads back home with Akane. On their way back, Akane tells Heike that just like Akko found him when she was at her lowest, she also found him the same way. She also tells him that she would love to continue to hang out with him her whole life, but realizes that she might have spoken too much and starts to act sooner again. After having him promise her that he will bring Akko back, she leaves smiling like a charming angel. The following morning, Heike skips school to head to Akko's house, where he hesitates to ring the doorbell when Akko's mom notices him. She brings him inside after learning that he is Heike. She tells him that Akko told her about him and how he was her husband. Heike clears the confusion that it's only in game, but Akko's mom still teases him and gives him the key to Akko's room. She asks him to take care of Akko for her and leaves for work. Heike heads upstairs, knocks on the door and informs Akko that he is here. Akko is shocked and asks him to not enter the room, but Heike still opens the room forcibly and finds her in a way that we can't talk about due to censorship. Let's just skip that part and move on. Heike enters the room and notices that Akko is playing left. He asks if he can join her. He continues to teach her throughout the whole day, till eventually it's evening and he notices that Kyowu and Akane are online. He logs in from his laptop and attends the meeting. Yui happens to be there as well in her Nekoheim character. There, Heike tells everyone that he will be quitting school and playing Le with Akko the whole day. This shocks Akko, who tells him to not do it as this will make him unable to meet Kyowu and Akane in real life. However, Heike asks her that if she can quit, then he can quit as well. Akko realizes that she is wrong and promises Heike that she will come back to school from now on. Heike is happy and tells her that he will also continue to be her husband and Le no matter what. The following day, Akko comes to the school where all of her classmates are worried about her. Fortunately, Nanako helps her cover up for her, as she even helps her in socializing with other girls. One day, Heike and Akko are at the guild all alone, so he decides to tell Akko about interesting stories. He tells her about his friend who married a girl in the game but soon got divorced. He decided that he won't marry anyone, but a few weeks later, he got married for the second time. After hearing the story, Akko looks at Heike and assures him that she won't ever divorce him and tells him that she loves her. Heike replies that he loves her too, not only in the game. He is about to say it in real life as well, but he is too embarrassed to do so. The following day, Heike is on his cleaning duty when he notices Akko stuck between the girls in her class who ask her about magazines and stuff. Akko notices that Heike is here and immediately runs towards him and starts expressing her grief. In the club room, she shows him the magazine and how the girls are always talking about it, but she doesn't understand it. Hearing this, Akane tells her that it's a guide to live life according to high-level players in the game called real life. Unfortunately, they all suck at this real-world game, which makes them depressed. Kyowu enters the room and finds them sulking, so she asks what happened. After hearing about it, she starts to laugh as usual as she assures them that she has been there too. However, her natural beauty is enough for her, so it's not a problem for her. Akane stares at her angrily and asks what they should do today. Heike suggests helping Nanako in clearing her beginner quest so she can choose a beginner class. With the help of high-level players like Akane, Nanako is easily able to clear the quest and level up. She chooses to become a summoner and even summons a dog as her first pet to celebrate her advancement. The group is at the guild where Nanako talks about the upcoming exams. This comes as a shock to everyone, as they weren't expecting the time to go by this soon. The following day, Kyowu announced that club activities would be closed till the exams, after which they would have their summer vacation. After school, Heike and Akko head home. Heike asks Akko if she took the tests. Akko immediately freezes, which makes Heike worried as well, so he asks her if she passed the middle term exams, but he doesn't receive an answer, which makes him realize that she probably failed. At home, Heike is thinking about a way to help Akko clear the exams when his little sister requests him to teach her. This immediately makes him think of an idea, so he runs away, leaving his grumpy sister behind. Later, Heike invites everyone to the game where they corner Akko and forcefully teach her inside the game. Akko continues to beg them, but they don't have any bit of mercy on her till she is completely literate. Fortunately, their efforts pay off as the exams go by smoothly. After the exams, Heike is in the game with Akane and Kyowu, where he asks them to help him in confessing to Akko. He tells them that summer vacations are coming soon, so he wants to confess before that. However, they both don't know anything about love, so poor Heike is on his own. On the final day of school before summer, Kyowu announces that they will be having a training camp in the first week of the summer vacation. In that camp, rather than working on their gaming skills, the group will focus on their physical fitness. After informing them, she draws the curtain as everyone is allowed to leave. Heike and Akko are on their way home when Akko starts talking about the gear to buy for the summer vacation. However, Heike's mind is preoccupied with other thoughts, so he asks her to come with him to the park. There, Heike confesses to Akko and requests him to become his girlfriend. However, Akko ends up rejecting him. Poor Heike, who has just been rejected, forces himself to go to the club's training camp. After arriving at the location, he notices that Kyowu and Yui are already there. Soon Akane and Akko also arrive, but the latter of them is still half asleep. Kyowu tells about their first day, which would be a 24-hour no-internet concentration camp. This comes as a shock to Akko, who can't believe that she will have to stay in the real world for so many hours. After the announcement, they all put their luggage in the back of the car and sit inside to head to the private beach booked by none other than the rich girl, Kyowu herself. While they are on their way to the beach, Heike thinks about his conversation with Akane and Kyowu, who told them that Akko is still confused between reality and game, so they need to bring her into reality so he can propose to her. After arriving at the location, they put their stuff inside and get ready to enjoy the beach time. After goofing around the whole day, the group grilled some barbecue at night and filled their stomachs, after which they light fireworks and create a perfect atmosphere for a boy to confess. Heike gathers his courage once again and confesses to Akko that he loves her. This time, he receives a positive answer, but Akko still thinks that they are husband and wife even in real life. Later, he gives the details to Akane and Kyowu, who already know that it won't be that easy. However, they aren't willing to give up and assure him that they will do something about it. The following day, Kyowu takes them to another hotel that is officially collaborating with. She informs them that they will play games the whole day so they can make up for the time they lost. They head to the gaming room where Heike is signing in when he types the wrong password. However, on the second attempt, he types the correct one and logs in. They find themselves in the hotel, which is an exclusive map, and mess around. After playing for a while, they head to the lobby to get some snacks, which will earn them in-game points as well. After stocking a lot of snacks, they head to their room to play. Heike signs in and is playing when he receives a text from Akko, who asks him to come to his room. Unfortunately, it is only in the game. In their room, Akko is about to say something to Heike when he suddenly logs off and logs in. However, he appears to be different, but Akko doesn't realize this and keeps talking. On the other hand, Heike tries to log in but notices that the password has been changed. He tries again and again, only to realize that his account was probably hacked. However, he doesn't worry about his account. Instead, he immediately runs to Akko's room and finds her in a fearful state. He immediately heads into the room and looks at the chat log as he finds the disgusting texts the hacker sent to Akko. Fortunately, Akko was intelligent and realized that the man was not her husband and left. Meanwhile, Akko keeps apologizing to Heike even though she did nothing wrong. She tells Heike that she is ashamed that she mistook someone to be him even for a second. After taking care of Akko, Heike informs the other club members. Kyowu asks him how he got hacked, to which Heike answers that it was probably the lobby PC, which had a fake sign and page. After he filled in the details, the page disappeared and instead appeared as a real login page. Kyowu apologizes to him as she was the one who brought them here, but Heike assures her that it's not her mistake and that he was the stupid one. However, the real problem is that even after recovering the account, Heike found that his character was deleted and his items have probably been sold. Now's not the time to cry over the spilt milk, but instead, they should focus on looking for his items that are probably being sold, while Kyowu and others are using their connections to find his items. Heike also creates a new character to visit the Dark Magician Guild that he once applied to. The guild master listens to Heike's problem and agrees to help him. He also gives him some information about such hackers, which is informative to Heike. Later, Heike and the other members arrive at the guild for a meeting. There, Heike learns that his items are being sold by a player, so they visit that player and take a screenshot of his details to complain to the admin of the game. However, the result is rather disappointing, as the person who was selling those items has a different IP than that of the person who stole his account. While they are talking, the Dark Magician Guild Master also arrives and gives them information about the hacker and how he deals with real money to sell in-game items. After learning this, the group spent 3 entire days creating a fake trading site with years of data so the hacker could be successfully fished out. The hacker meets with Heike's fake account, where they are brought to the Game Master Zone, who informs the hacker that it's Joe over for him. After recovering his account, Heike heads to the church to marry Akko once again, and this time their marriage is witnessed by many people. One day, Kyowu invites all the girls to her house for a girls' pajama party. After arriving at her house, which is in reality just a giant mansion, they head inside, where they are greeted by a row of maids. Kyowu introduces the girls to be her friends, which makes the maids cry, as they never thought that they would see a day where the young miss would bring friends with her. Kyowu, who is getting embarrassed by their behavior, asks them to cut to the chase and orders the head maid to lead them to her room. The head maid starts to walk in front of them as she leads them to Kyowu's room, due to the house being a giant mansion. While they are walking, Akko is surprised to see maids in real life. However, the head maid tells them that they are not maids and that the young miss just made them dress like this for today. So Akko asks you if it's just a lousy cosplay, which infuriates her as she starts blabbering about their quality and the fine materials she chose. Soon, they arrive in front of her room and head inside. Akane is shocked as Kyo's room alone is 10 times the size of her room. After guiding them inside, the headmaid leaves as the girls start exploring her room. Nanako finds a big door which reveals a small room full of screens. Akane is shocked and wonders if Kyo is a day trader, as only they would require so many screens. However, Kyo tells them that it's necessary as she can open up so many guide pages and play games at the same time. Akane is getting exhausted as she can't bear this much flex, so she begs them to leave and close the room. They sit at the study table to do some homework. The summer vacations are going to end soon, so they need to pace up with their homework as well. Ako is having a hard time doing the homework as she has already forgotten most of the stuff that she was taught in the exams. She is also getting tired and wants to quit, but the girl forces her to stay, which makes her think about her husband, Heike, who would always help her. Ako knows that she can't just stay here and focus on homework, so she makes an excuse to head to the bathroom, but Nanako decides to tag along in case that she tries to explain. After doing her business, Ako doesn't just want to go back to the room, so instead she asks Nanako if she wants to explore the mansion. They keep exploring random rooms and eventually, they find themselves in front of a suspicious-looking library. Ako's treasure senses get activated, so she is about to head inside, but Nanako tries to stop her and informs her that it's not her house. However, Ako isn't that easy, so she heads inside and looks around to find anything. However, she isn't able to find anything worth looking at except a book that looks out of place. Ako presses the book, which reveals a hidden room behind the bookshelves. Ako heads inside and finds a golden chest. As a gamer, she can't resist opening it, so she jumps right in and opens the chest. However, instead of finding jewels and gold coins, all she finds is a book. Just then the headmaid appears behind them and tells them that they have just discovered the most prized treasure of the mansion. Ako gulps down her saliva and asks the maid as to what's so special about this book. The maid tells them that it contains all the pictures of Kyo since childhood and informs them that now that they have found them, they have no choice but to turn into the admirer of their young miss. Both Ako and Nanako are afraid of this headmaid, so they immediately run away in horror. However, the maid isn't slow and continues chasing them. Inside Kyo's room, Akane and she are getting impatient about their disappearance and wonder what they are doing. Although Kyo knew that Ako would try to run away, she didn't expect Nanako to be the same. Just then they hear someone scream, so they head to the balcony and find Ako and Nanako calling for her help. Kyo heads towards them and scolds them for disappearing and wasting so much time. However, as there still is a bit of time remaining, they must continue with their homework again. Poor Ako calls for Heike, but too bad there is no escape for her. After studying for some time, the group heads to the dining room to have some dinner. At the dinner table, Akane is a bit terrified as she never had such a fancy meal before. Seeing this, Ako decides to tease her, which makes Akane question why is Ako better than her at this. Ako proudly answers that she learned such skills, so if one day Heike took her on a nice lunch, she would not be out of place. After dinner, the group takes a relaxing bath and heads to the sleeping chamber. On a queen-sized bed, all the girls lay down in a row as they sleep together. Girls being girls can't help but talk about romance, which brings Nanako to ask Ako about her relationship with Heike outside of the game. This puts Ako in a difficult position, but she still manages to answer that Heike is Heike, and that marrying or dating someone outside of the game would make her a cheater, so she won't do that. She even enforces her beliefs on other girls, which starts corrupting their minds, so they immediately contact Heike, who is busy playing games. One day, Heike and Ako are at the guild where Heike is telling her about the story of a healer. After finishing the story, Ako is jealous that he is talking about a girl, but Heike's real goal is to tell her that she needs to stop calling him her husband at school. However, hearing this, Ako starts laughing and considers this to be a joke from Heike. After a few days, the summer vacation finally comes to an end as Heike is back at school. He is in his usual seat as usual and is talking to his friends about the hot summer when suddenly Akane barges into the class and takes him away. She drags him to the stairs and starts grieving about all the normie questions that her normie friends are asking her. She can't believe that she survived the first term while acting like a normie and wonders what was wrong with her. Just then, Nanako finds them quarreling and asks if they are having an affair. Akane, who is already pissed, gets even more angry and decides to take her anger on Nanako, who chose bad timing for a joke. On the topic of the affair, Heike is reminded of Ako and wonders where she is. He brings out his phone and calls her to ask about her whereabouts. Ako picks up the phone and asks Heike as to why he didn't log into the game for the morning practice. Heike reminds her that the summer vacation has ended and orders her to come to school. Later, Kyo is giving her speech as the student council president when Ako sneaks into the assembly hall all quietly. After meeting up with Heike, she starts to act like her usual self, which pisses off Akane, who is still single. After the assembly, they head to their classrooms where Yui wishes them good luck for their second term and dismisses them. The group heads to the club room where they finally bask in the cold air from the air conditioner. After cooling themselves off, they turn on their computers to start gaming. On the topic of games, Akane asks Heike about his progress in recovering his old equipment. Heike answers that he is almost done and just 20% is remaining. However, Akko exposes him and says that Heike is so slow because he is trying to get better equipment. Akane gets angry at him for wasting time, but Heike tries to justify himself by saying that having better and modified equipment will only help the guild in the long term. While they are talking, Yui enters the room and asks them about the upcoming important stuff. All of the club members start talking about in-game events that will be coming soon. However, Yui asks them to come out of their delusions as the school culture festival is approaching soon. The group realizes that they can't escape this normie event, so they decide to turn it into something fun instead. Kyowu suggests that they would participate in the siege wars to capture a castle and then put an emblem of the school on the flag to represent their club in the culture festival. Yui is flabbergasted, but she can't deny their request, so she goes along with them. After the club meeting, Akko and Heike head home together as usual when Akko tells Heike how happy she is to once again walk home with him. Heike tells her that he is happy to do that as well. The following day, the group decided to focus on their PvP skills for the upcoming siege wars, so they pair up against each other to fight. Akko and Heike are up against each other in the first round, but these two love-struck couples are unable to fight each other. Akane is getting upset by their lovey-dovey behavior, so she jumps in to fight Heike. However, Heike easily defeats her, which makes her even more upset. The next one to step in is Kyowu, who challenges Akane, but ends up being defeated in one move. She challenges Heike as well, but bears the same result. She is so weak that she even loses against Akko, who is not even a proper fighter. Kyowu is having a hard time accepting the reality, so the group tells her that her current character is extremely unfit for PvP battle. After training for a few more days, it's finally time for the first siege battle as the group continues to lay low to watch the fight and learn from them. The fight ends up being one-sided as the enemy is obliterated in one go. However, Kyowu thinks that they can do it, so they charge in but end up getting obliterated as well. The group decides to lay low and watch again as they notice that the current group is Nekoheim's guild, who easily destroys the defensive team and takes over the castle. But soon they are destroyed as well and another guild takes their place. In real life, the school culture festival's preparation is going on with full force as our group also faces the pressure of completing the task. While Heike is working with the class, Akko approaches and asks him to head outside with her. Akane joins them as well, as Akko tells them about her current predicament. She asks Heike to help her as her class has decided to open a maid cafe, and they want her to become the head maid. Heike tells her that it's not that big of a problem, and that you can help her with the maid dresses as she already has the experience. After finishing their work, the group gathers at the club and they even invite Nanako and Yui to help them in the upcoming siege war. On top of that, Kyowu has even hired a top-ranking guild to ally with them in sieging the defensive castle. The top-ranking guild members arrive before the group and officially sign the deal by shaking heads with Kyowu. The guild master of the top-ranking guild is called Bat, who is almost a legendary player in terms of PvP. He looks at them with a smirk on his face as he asks his subordinates to arrange suitable roles for Heike and others. After assigning the roles, they head to the castle and decide on a strategy to use. Bat orders Akko and Nanako to run alongside the castle so the long-range attacks will be focused on them, giving the close-range fighters to close in. As much this strategy is ugly in the eyes of our protagonist, but it is indeed effective. Akko and Nanako can distract the long-range attacks of the opponent guild, which allows the close-range fighters such as Akane and Heike to close in. While they are fighting their opponents, Heike gets excited about fighting such players in PvP, but his excitement is soon ruined when his opponents are suddenly insta-killed by their allies' guild members. This upsets Kyowu and others, but they have no choice as this is what they decided on. After clearing up the outside enemies, Heike and others walk in to find that Bats has already taken care of the remaining opponents. He walks up to the throne, destroys the opponent guild's crystal, and urges you to place their own. After seeing that everything is according to the plan, he leaves the room to head to the town to restock their supplies. The group can't believe that it's over so soon, and they didn't have fun either. However, just when they are thinking of plans, the top-ranking guild immediately cancels the alliance with them. Just when Kyowu is thinking about why would they do it, Bats appear out of the shadows and backstab Yui, who is just watching. Afterward, he continues to slay everyone till no one is left. He then destroys the guild crystal and places it soon. After reviving, Kyowu asks him as to why he betrayed them, to which he answers that it sounded fun so he did it. Kyowu doesn't bicker with him and just leaves. In the club room, she apologizes to everyone else for ruining their moods and assures them that they will have their revenge. After the club, Akko and Heike are walking back home when they notice that Akko is upset by the defeat. He asks her about it, to which Akko replies that she is regretful as to what happened. Heike consoles her and tells her that everything that happens is for the betterment and that they will take their revenge soon. The following day, Heike heads to the student council room where Kyowu asks him to call her by her first name. And when Heike calls her, she becomes embarrassed and tells him that he is the first male outside of her family who called her by her first name. However, she soon recovers and comes to the point where she assures Heike that she will take care of the Bats Guild, especially after she is done stocking up the goods. After talking with Kyowu, Heike heads to the club room where he finds Akko and others dressed up in maid cosplay. Heike asks Akko if she has done the other duties as the head maid, to which he receives no answer. Heike knows what he needs to do, so he takes her to her class and tells everyone the truth. He also asks them to help Akko in doing it, to which they agree as they can't turn them down, especially when the culture festival is so close. After taking care of the real-life stuff, it's finally time for the in-game one, so Heike logs into the game and takes his fellow guild members to the Dark Magician Guild, where they meet with the guildmaster, whom Heike begs to ally with them. The Dark Magician accepts the offer, but on the condition that they will not provide any support and that they will only use their name. After taking care of this, Heike and others leave and find Neckoheim's guild members to make an alliance. After allying with them, they start their training to beat up Bats Guild and reclaim their castle. After all the planning and the training they did, Kyowu and others realize that they might be able to defeat a guild to take over the castle, but to protect it from other guilds taking over, they need to use a strategy. The strength will be to capture a castle when the time is close to ending, so they won't have to defend the castle for longer. After taking care of everything, they finally log into the game and head to their destination. After arriving in front of the castle, they go through their strategy once again and start their attack. Kyowu orders Nanako to use a giant robot to destroy the front gate so the close-range fighters can easily make their way in. After doing that, Akane and Heike alongside other close-range fighters from Neckoheim's guild run towards the main gate as they are intercepted by opponents from the other guild. Akane and the others are stuck at the gate and only need to create a single opening. However, it's rather difficult, but Nanako has a plan as she yells in public chat that the Dark Magician is going to attack, which momentarily halts everyone. Akane uses that chance to slay the front guards and make way for the others to head inside. After making their way to the throne, Kyowu destroys the opponent's crystal and places her own. After the announcement, only 20 minutes are remaining, so the group just needs to keep their defenses tight. The first guild to attack is the previous opponent guild, but they are taken care of by Kyowu's giant meteorite spell, which is powdered up with enhancement magic from Akko. After defending the castle against the first raid, Kyowu waits for their real opponents to arrive as only 10 minutes are remaining. As expected, Bats Guild arrives with their usual 5 members. However, those 5 members are easily able to make their way into the castle, but fortunately, they are slowed down to an extent by everyone's sacrifice till only a few minutes remain. Inside the throne room, Heike uses his stun ability to deal with one of the opponents while another one is slayed as well. Soon everyone falls except a tank, which is stopped by Heike and Bat, who walk towards Kyowu to attack her. Bat slashes Kyowu but finds that she is still alive. He keeps on slashing Kyowu, but she seems like an immortal who won't die no matter what. However, in truth, Kyowu is just using an extremely expensive potion that doesn't have a cooldown. Thanks to that, she can stop Bat till the countdown stops and the event ends. After everyone is revived, Bat comes inside the castle and asks Kyowu about her reason for spending so much money just for a game. However, Kyowu answers that as long as it makes her friends happy, she doesn't care about any amount of money. Bat laughs out loud and tells her that he kind of likes her. After saying that, he leaves, promising that they will meet later. After finishing their goal for the Culture Festival, the group is very excited. However, they know that the Culture Festival has just started, so they head outside to touch grass, which they haven't felt in days. The rest of the Culture Festival goes smoothly, and even a neat like Akko is able to complete her duties as a maid waitress at a maid cafe. After the festival, Heike and Akko are in a room where he praises her for hanging in there. Akko is happy to be praised, but she wants a reward for her efforts. Heike tells her that she can wish for anything, to which Akko closes her eyes and leans in, but before anything can happen, the door opens as Kyowu and the others barge in to ruin the poor couple's chance. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.